an AppleVis original.
Hello there, and welcome to another AppleVis Extra. It is September again, so more new stuff from Apple as we get most years. It is a pleasant September day here in Dublin, Ireland. I am David Nason. I am joined from the great state of Maine by Alex Hall and Tyler Stephen, and from the Big Apple by Scott Dabbert. How are y'all?
Not bad.
I'm good.
Doing pretty good. Nice day here, too.
Yeah, it's amazing how fast it comes around, isn't it?
I just wish it would stay until, spring.
Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? So
It wouldn't. It's one of those things where it is nice because it's not there every day. You know what I mean? Like if it was every day was 25 Celsius / 77 Fahrenheit, it would be like, yeah, whatever. Must be California.
Nice segue.
Yes, they did have a very interesting opening to the event today, which was telling us all about how fantastic California is and how much they love it. So good, well done to them. But from there, they went into Apple TV Plus, which was just, I guess they just took this as an opportunity to go, hey, everybody, this is still a thing. Please pay for it. We've got some great shows. And I have to say, I actually do like Apple TV Plus. I have enjoyed quite a lot of the shows. Admittedly, I've had it for free for most of the time I've had it. But currently watching Ted Lasso Season 2. Looking forward to Foundation. Anyone else? Are you guys using a Apple TV Plus out of interest?
I've heard so much about Ted Lasso. I finally had to start watching it. I was surprised. I gotta say, I didn't expect all the language, but threw me off just a little bit. But it's good. It's fine. I tried to watch C when it first came out last year. I got a few episodes into it. It wasn't. It was all right. It kind of fell off my radar. I might go back to that, but I haven't been a huge Apple TV Plus user myself.
I have to say, I think C is probably the worst show I've watched on
really?
Apple TV Plus. Yeah, I think like Morning Show is fantastic. For All Mankind was brilliant.
That I do want to see. I've heard a lot about
Jacob
that.
Was brilliant. Mythic Quest was brilliant, and I love Ted Lasso. Like I love pretty much everything except C. If I'm completely honest, Scott, I don't think you're into Apple TV, are you?
No, I have the subscription for 1 year. And I just haven't really looked into it yet. It's not so much for lack of interest as it is lack of time.
Yeah, I hear that.
Now that I'm back to work, pretty much anything that isn't work takes a back seat, which is unfortunate. But, got to keep a roof over my head. I guess that's top priority.
You got to prioritize. But from there anyway, they went into the hardware, which I guess is why we're all really there. And they started off with iPad, a new entry-level iPad. So that's the best-selling one, I guess. And, it's still a pretty solid iPad by the look of it. It's still the older kind of design. It has the home button, has a 13 Bionic chip in it. So I guess that's a, 2-year-old if you're talking about the cutting edge, but that's still a pretty decent processor. Better camera, of course, True Tone and things like that. And the center stage feature, which is the thing where the camera kind of follows you. It comes from the iPad Pro from last year. So it's easier to stay in focus, which could actually be very useful for visually impaired people, I would imagine. Starts at $329. So that's pretty much all they told us about it. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on iPad or if you're using it, or should we move on to the iPad mini already?
Well, I've got the iPad 7, I think. And, I don't use it often. Still works well enough for what I use. If I were in the market, this would be a nice upgrade. It's an older processor, as you said, but it still does everything you need at the entry-level price. So you kind of can't beat it if you just need a basic tablet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Scott, you're an iPod person still, aren't you? Rather than an iPad guy.
Yeah, I'm more iPod person, primarily because I just use a Braille display anyway with pretty much everything. And I, for example, when I travel, I use it to, keep some of the stress off my iPhone battery And of course, an iPod is much easier to lug around than an iPad. However, um, I don't think I'm interested right now in the new iPad mini, but obviously with that thing moving forward, it will probably have iOS support for a couple years at least, whereas the iPod, I think it's unfortunately on borrowed time at this point. So I may have to upgrade to it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, we'll go through what the iPad mini has then, which is new. I think this is the first one in 3 or 4 years, but do correct me if I'm wrong on that. They have put it in the same kind of enclosure it had before, so kind of like the same size physically as the 7-inch iPad mini we had before, but it's now an 8.3-inch screen because much like the change they made to the iPhone in the recent years, it's gone kind of edge-to-edge screen. The home button on the front is gone. So it sounds like a pretty cool device in that sense. Touch ID is in the power button now. It's USB-C connection, 5G if you want that as well. Better cameras, the usual kind of stuff, the center stage feature as well. They say bigger speakers as well, or better speakers. So basically this to me sounds like last year's iPad Air in mini form. Would that be accurate?
With the newer SoC, from what I was reading on Twitter, people are saying that it's using the A15, same as the new iPhone 13s. So it's got one newer generation than the Air, but apart from that, it does sound exactly like an Air, just shrunken down some.
Yeah. There were some interesting use cases I heard about it. Like I had never, because I don't have an iPad, I don't really have a use case at this point for one. But the iPad Mini, I hadn't really thought about how people. I didn't realize people put it in like little. They were talking. I don't know exactly how, but they're talking about pockets, and I can't imagine putting an iPad in a pocket, but like a bag, like for pilots and people putting it in their lab coat pockets or something, like doctors. That was one of the use cases mentioned. So I think it's, for that, as far as staying up to date on everything, I think that's a pretty good upgrade, but it's nothing super exciting, very incremental. Same with the entry level iPad. Won't gain any new customers per se who are going to rush out and buy it, but it's not going to lose any customers either.
Yeah,
that's that was my takeaway from it. Yeah.
I think there's a set of people out there who really like the mini iPad, and it doesn't get updated very often, so there probably will be plenty of people looking for that upgrade. But yeah, it's hard to know really beyond that. But
we should say, cool. Speaking of use cases, just not that it probably matters for our audience, but the original iPad, the 9, does retain the Apple Pencil 1, and the iPad Mini now gains Apple Pencil 2 support, just because we can't all use the same pencil for whatever reason.
Yes, and it has the magnetic, it sticks to the side of the device magnetic.
Yeah, the Mini has that.
And we also can't all use the same I/O. Apparently,
true.
My impression was that just the regular low cost iPad had Lightning, which is what the iPhone uses and the iPod Touch uses. And the iPad Mini has USB-C, which is what the iPad Pro and iPad Air use.
Yep. And Mac. This is driving me crazy. I've got all these USB things around my house, and now in each place I have to have a Lightning one as well. And it's like they could really make my life a lot easier by just putting USB-C on everything.
Yeah. Well, the thing about the new iPad, I guess we're just calling it the new iPad. The
all new option. iPad.
Yeah.
I think there is a use case for it, and I'm glad they updated to kind of keep it, going with specs, because
100%.
I think for people who are parents who have children, they're going to, if they want to give their kid a gaming device, that's a fairly cheap entry level iPad. But it does a lot of the things that need to be done, and they have all these great parental controls and stuff on it. So, I think there's a market for it. I really do. And some people will prefer the Mini. I think about the iPad Mini. I think about beta testing for iPad OS specifically. Because it's not a completely universal experience between iPad OS and iOS. So that'd be a good. Either one of them really would be a good beta device, I think.
Oh yeah, would yeah.
Sure.
I think they're both great devices, and they're decent price points, like $329 entry for the for the iPad and $499. I think I heard
Yeah, $499.
For the mini, which is, it's a good price for a really, really powerful device like that A15. I have last year's Air, and that thing's going to last me years. It's amazing. Yeah. Like, I love it. As an iPad fan, I love, I do love the iPad, and I don't want the mini myself, but I can definitely see why people might buy it. It's going to be. It's not much bigger than the iPhone Pro Max, but if you want an iPad, it could be a good option.
And by the way, just as usual, when you bring me on this podcast, I apologize for bringing Zoe on the podcast. So sorry for the barking dog, if you can hear that.
Dogs are always welcome on blind-related podcasts.
Definitely more intelligent than any of the comments I've made this far, so,
Absolutely.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate that.
I hold myself to that same standard.
Last time I was on an AppleVis Extra, it's funny. I was listening back and I noticed that I had my window open, and that time it's not a bird that featured on the podcast. Last time I was on here, one of the birds in my yard through my open window was cawing, and that had a fairly prominent feature on the AppleVis podcast. So at least a dog.
Well, we do enjoy tweeting out our podcasts. So, that works out too.
Nice.
We're very animal friendly here.
Oh Lord. So I think, Scott, you were the one person I think who said an iPad mini could be on your agenda as a replacement for that iPad. Is that right? Yeah.
Well, like I said, it's for it would be primarily a media consumption device, but also it's a good, again, like I said, a device that I can look at iPad OS on, and the mini is still small enough so it can easily travel, or I can put it somewhere in my apartment. I'm in New York. We don't have all kinds of space here. So if we can get something smaller, that's always good. I didn't realize that it was the same form factor, essentially, the same screen size ultimately as the previous generation. Because of what I read, it was like, oh yeah, it's an 8.3-inch screen now. I'm thinking, oh man, come on, guys, you're ruining the mini part. But I'm glad to hear it's keeping the same physique, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Thereabouts, yeah. And the Touch ID and the power button, I think it's going to be welcome with a lot of people.
I mean, I really don't understand why that's not in every device. That is sounds amazingly easy and handy. It's one of the things I guess we'll get more into this later, but it's one of the things I love about my SE 2020. I put put my thumb on the home button and press it, and it's unlocked. Mm-hmm. And it just works most of the time.
It just works when it works.
Yeah, there's a flashback for you.
So yeah, I think that's iPad. Good updates, and I'm sure they'll do well. They then moved on to Apple Watch. They mentioned something that I wasn't quite sure if it was related specifically to the new watch or to the new software about cycling in workouts now, being able to detect when you've started and stopped and fall detection and stuff. But then they did move on to the actual hardware of the new watch Series 7. It's got a larger screen now, 20% larger, which I think I wasn't quite clear. Is the actual body bigger as well, or is it just savings by making the borders smaller?
It's very, very slightly larger, I think. A lot of it was the bezel reduction, but they said that they didn't say they kept it the same size. I think they said something like, we only had to make it barely larger, something like that. So cases won't fit, but I don't think you'll notice the difference.
And it's kind of got that flat edge design.
I don't think it does, actually. I asked that on Twitter as well, because they never said during the presentation. Of course, the audio describer guy didn't mention that bit. But it seems like they kept basically the same curves. The corners are now a little bit more rounded, according to the guy on the presentation. But it doesn't appear to have gotten the straight edge treatment that we all expected from the rumors.
That's funny, because the rumors were so strong on that one, weren't they?
I know, they were.
Yeah. I think... what I heard, it was 41 and 45 millimeter sizes is that's what I read just before
which
is
is
what I've heard,
from
recording.
I think it was 44 or 43 was the bigger one before, wasn't it? So,
Yeah, 44 was it was 40 and 44, and now it's 41, 45.
So not much, not much difference. And they say it's got larger on-screen buttons and controls now, easier to tap, brighter screen, including the always-on display, which certainly the blind users won't care too much about. Low vision may use the always-on. Was there much else? An on-screen keyboard, which the people at FlickType might be interested to see. Some new faces, of course, they always bring in. More durable, they say as well. Faster charging as well. So that's kind of it. Some new colors.
So some of that is actually kind of a big deal, and I don't want us to gloss over it too much.
No.
Mind if I just go off here for a second? All right, so couple things then. The on-screen keyboard confuses me. It's not on WatchOS 8, and maybe it will be, in an update. But if they can fit an on-screen keyboard on a 41 millimeter watch, why is it not on the 44 millimeter Series 6 or 4 or 5? Like, don't know what's up with that. The charging, though, that is exciting. So part of the reason that I went from a Series 4 to a Series 6 was because the Series 6 had 20% faster charging. And that's great. I can go for about 23 hours straight, including 2 or 3 workouts. No problem. Sleep tracking works fine. I charge it for an hour or so, and I'm ready to go again up to 92, 95%. What they're saying now is it charges faster. So it'll charge from 0 to 80% in what they say 45 minutes.
45 minutes, yep.
And it will charge for enough battery to get you through 8 hours of sleep tracking if you charge it from 0% for 8 minutes.
8 minutes, yeah.
So if you're someone who wants to use this as a sleep tracker, but your thing has always been, well, I don't want to charge it for an hour before bed. Remember to do all that. No problem now. Put it on the charger, brush your teeth, come back. You're ready. Like it's a much more appealing sleep tracker now. If you're also someone who likes to wear it as much as possible, it's now a lot easier to find 45 minutes to get you back up to your 80% instead of having to carefully schedule your charging times. So the battery life did not increase, which is going to annoy a lot of people. But I think the new charging is actually going to be a bigger deal than it might first appear, because it'll make it just that much easier to keep it on as much as possible and use it when you actually need to use it.
I mean, in terms of the charging time, it's kind of impressive, but for the battery of that size, I mean, it's not all that impressive in the grand scheme of things because it is such a small battery. But, that was the one thing that I was like, well, I'll probably wait for another one because I'm fairly happy with my Series 5. So I might wait till the 8 comes out next year.
Yeah.
But, that's a big thing for me because with the Series 5, I don't, I sleep with mine because I use it as an alarm in the morning.
Me too.
And I don't always get enough charge out of it before I leave the house. I have to drop it on the charger, go get in the shower, whatever. I'm out the door in 25 minutes, 30 minutes, and I don't necessarily get enough charge for the whole day. So, that's a big thing for me, but is it big enough to, upgrade and all that? Yeah, I'll wait till next year, and hopefully they'll introduce some more features that are, even better. As far as the keyboard goes, that was my question too. Why couldn't I not fit it on earlier models? But for me, it does eat the battery for lunch. But a lot of the time, if I want to do texting, for example, I'll hook up the Orbit Writer and just use that, and it works really well. In fact, I think Braille support on WatchOS is a little more reliable than iOS right now.
There you go.
Wow.
I'd be kind of similar, Scott. I actually have a Series 4, and I'm still pretty happy with it, to be honest. And I charge it for maybe 45 minutes in the morning, maybe an hour, and maybe 45 minutes in the evening, and that does my, sleep tracking. Well, actually, I don't use sleep tracking. I use it more for just the alarm, like yourself. And gets me through my day, and I can do a workout or two, and I generally find it's okay. So, yeah, I'm happy to wait another year to see what more features they can cram in there in the Series 8, because the 4 is still running pretty fast. So, yeah, that's good with me.
The only other thing I liked about it was the watch face. One of the modular ones now includes 2 large complication slots. And if you use an Apple Watch, you know exactly what I mean. Sorry if you're if you're someone who has no clue what I'm talking about. But the complication slots are small and large, and right now you can only fit one of the large ones. And the large ones, even though for voiceover you could theoretically get all the detail you want, designers just don't do it that way. So if you have a small face or a small complication, you get a lot less detail. Large gets you way more. And there are a lot of apps where I'd love to have two large complications on the same face. You know, calendar and weather, for instance, would be great. So you could get that more detail at a glance, so to speak, without having to do anything else. And that's kind of tempting, but it comes back to the same question. Will that then come to the other watches that have, you know, 40 and 44, or at the very least, will it come to the 44, which is larger than the 41? Like, how is this going to work going forward? So I'm tempted, honestly, by the 7 just for the charging speed and the complications, but I think I might wait until, you know, watchOS 8.1 just to see what happens with the other watches that are still supported, see if they get any of those features for the larger screens.
Yeah, fingers crossed they will. And I must admit the keyboard offers zero interest to me. I don't find I ever have the inclination to reply to a message on my watch. It's easier to take my phone out of my pocket than to try and hold my watch out in front of me and try and I don't get it, but I know a lot of people do. So it's another way of doing it. Because I think the scribble thing never worked very well, did it?
Not for me, but I'm not much of a handwriter, so I'm probably not the best target market.
Oh, and here's the thing. If you're going to make the screen a little bigger, can't you put a little bigger battery in there?
Yeah.
You know, with these hearing aids, I have their Phonak hearing aids, and I can connect them to the watch and stream music, and it's really it's amazing. But boy, does it kill my battery.
Yeah.
You know, so that, you know, it's great that like you can connect a braille display to certain hearing aids now. You can connect. They don't have MFI support, but these hearing aids are basically Bluetooth agnostic. So, you know, my Windows computer, I can quickly connect that up if I need to. Pretty much anything I need. But a better battery, I would go with a bigger screen if they put a bigger battery in it, simply for the fact that I can get a lot more use out of my watch, which again, like I mentioned earlier, you know, the iPod takes the heavy lifting, some of it off of the iPhone. The watch can do the same, you know, now that I'm able to connect all these peripherals. But because the battery drains so quickly, I really can't take advantage of it the way I'd want to.
True.
Yeah, makes sense. And just to give people the full lineup of watches now, the first one absolutely mystifies me and slightly horrifies me, if I'm honest, and that is that the Series 3 is still there at $199. I would not buy that in a million years. Do not buy would be my personal recommendation. I just can't understand why I don't want to buy that. The SE is there for $279, I believe.
Yep.
And then from $399, I believe, for the Series 7. Am I being unfair to Apple about the Series 3, guys?
No, you're not. I mean, it's bad enough now that, from what I've read anyway, the official recommendation when you're updating a Series 3 is wipe it, reset it, and update it, because you might not have enough room for the update anymore. And, well, too bad. Wipe it instead of doing anything else. Like, it's barely supported. It's got the slower chip. Like, the Series 4 is good if you're going to go for a used watch. Find a Series 4 or 5, maybe 6. Find one used. No, don't go for the 3. Just don't do it.
Yeah, it's, you know, I guess it's the iPod of the Apple Watch. I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. Sort of borrowed time-ish. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's 4 years old. That's weird that they're still selling it, considering the technical limitations of the updates and the chips. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't even sure it was going to get watchOS 8 this year. Never mind 9 next year. It's
my brother has a Series 3, and he upgraded to watchOS 7 and did not like it. He basically said that's what, you know, because you can't revert back to 6, watchOS 6. So he hates it now. He absolutely hates the 3. And well, I guess the marketing worked because he's looking at getting a newer model now. But I mean, it's bad, because the speed at which these things have increased and the amount of resources that have increased has actually been pretty impressive overall. But because of that, the demand on the older watches is, I think, just too much on the later watch OS releases.
Mhm.
Yeah. Which does remind me, though, someone pointed out something interesting. The Series 7 Apple Watch actually uses the same internal chip as the Series 6. So if you buy one, you're not necessarily guaranteeing yourself an added year or two of watch OS either, because it's the same chip as last year.
Really? Wow.
But then that brings up the question of how long are we going to get updates and what features are going to be ported over? Look at the iOS side of things right now. The iPhone 6S is going to get iOS 15. It won't get all the features, but hey, I mean, it does get security updates and such. Mm-hmm. Perhaps they'll look at doing something like that to keep the older watches going. They're not going to get all the great features, but they'll get some of them and they'll get security updates. And well, as we saw from iOS 14.8, those are pretty important.
Yeah, absolutely. It also gives me extra reason, Alex, to think that the 6, even the 44mm 6, will not get that larger complication option on the keyboard, because they have to have something to sell the 7 on. And if it's the same chips,
you're probably right, but
and there's no new sensors either. No.
Never in the history of the world has 1 millimeter made so much difference.
Right.
But yeah, that's watches. So Alex, you're tempted. Anyone else buying one?
No.
All right.
That sums it all up right there. No.
Fair enough. It's a solid enough update, but yeah, I think I'm happy to go another year.
Yep.
They talked a little bit about Fitness Plus coming to more countries. I have never used it. Have any of you guys? Alex, you're into your workouts and stuff. Have you tried Fitness Plus?
I tried the free 2 weeks that they give you. I didn't really get it. Like, I tried I think I tried a walking one. I do a lot of walking and HIIT stuff. Do you say HIIT or HIT?
I say HIT, but anyway.
HIT? Okay. So I do a lot of HIT stuff and walking. So I tried that. It didn't really do much of anything for me. I didn't quite get it. Like, I prefer to take a walk with my audiobook or a podcast or something than someone telling me to walk. Like, I'm walking as fast as I am. I'm not going to speed up. My guide dog isn't going to speed up. We're good. So I didn't really understand what it was supposed to do for me. So I just kind of gave up on it after a while.
Fair enough. I've never given it a try as yet. I may do the free trial at some point. If you are into Fitness Plus, group workouts is probably one of the bigger updates to it now. So a bit like SharePlay that they announced for, if you want to watch Netflix together on your Apple TVs and so on, you can also do group workouts, which may interest some people. But then we got into the iPhone, which is generally the headline one. And the lineup is fairly similar to what we have in the iPhone 12 in the sense you've got 4 phones. And so it's iPhone 13 mini and iPhone 13. And then you've got the Pro and the Pro Max. The same design, essentially. They say there's a bigger battery. There's new colors, including Starlight. Comment if you know what Starlight is. I'm guessing yellow, but I haven't looked it up properly yet, so who knows. Brighter display, better cameras, a 15 bionic chip, which Tyler alluded to earlier, and better machine learning. It's kind of the usual fairly incremental update. Was there any kind of headline features? For me, it was just, and this isn't to put them down, is you can't have like super big surprises every year, but the fact is it is a very incremental. This is essentially an iPhone 12s to me.
Oh, fair enough.
Podcast. I'm sorry, what happened?
So, Scott, you're going to take delivery of the iPhone 13 Pro Max then? That's your plan?
Hold on, let me think for a minute. Oh, I'm sorry. No.
I think we're all kind of there. So, like the big features were the camera and the screen, and a bit better battery life.
Yeah.
Pretty much it.
Yeah, I think so.
New colors.
For those with an iPhone 13, or I think it was also work with a 12. I don't know with MagSafe. There's a new wallet with Find My, which I suppose could be helpful if you're, you lose your wallet, you can locate it with Find My. My wallet, it goes in one of two places, either in my pocket or my desk drawer. And knock on wood, I've never actually lost it. Not that I don't travel much, but yeah, I if I had, a MagSafe device, maybe a Find, it'd be nice to have a wallet that I could, keep, and it would let me know. It's never bad to have a alert when I'm, when I separate from it or misplace it. It's always good if it would tell me, if the device would tell me, hey, you left it somewhere. I definitely want that. But without that, I could just get in. If I wanted to, I could get like an air tag or something for my wallet and just do that. But I think it's a nice little add-on.
And even then, though, that wallet, I believe, works with iPhone 12 as well. So if you currently have the 12, you're still all set. You can just get the wallet.
Yeah.
It's a MagSafe accessory, right?
Yeah.
I think if you're on an iPhone 8, 10, maybe even 11, you might say, okay, this is, these are nice phones. I'll buy one. As a 12 mini owner, I can't see any reason why I would, but maybe they wouldn't expect me to anyway. Do you know what I mean? So I don't like to criticize too much when it's not. There's nothing too big from year to year, because what can we expect maybe from year to year? But there really was nothing that stood out as this is the reason you should want this phone to me. It was really all just brighter screen, faster, but the better camera. That's kind of.
If Touch ID had been there, I would have done it.
Yeah.
Something like that would have made the difference.
And it's in the new iPad mini. Come on, guys. Get with the program here, I'm definitely, I have an SE, and SE 2020, I should say. And I really I'm happy with my phone. The reason I would have upgraded, well, two of them really, had Touch ID been there would be better battery life. Right now I have a knockoff battery case that I bought off of Amazon for $17, and it works pretty good. But here's the other thing that we have to think about: chip shortages and potential price increases. They said next year, not this year.
Sure.
And so that's kind of like the gamble I guess I'm taking is, well, next year it might cost more, but then again, yeah, it'll cost more, but I'll actually get things I want out of it. Hopefully Touch ID will be included next year.
Yep.
Yeah, Touch ID would have been nice. To have Face ID and Touch ID with Touch ID and the power button, which would be the cheaper way they could have done it rather than under the screen. I would assume that would be the cheaper way of doing it. Should have been pretty achievable. They've already developed it for the iPad. So, yeah, it would have been nice. But
Yeah.
I suppose there were rumors that prices were going to go up, and they didn't. So Mini starts from $699. I didn't catch the 13 regular price. Is it $799 starting?
I think so. I haven't found that yet either, but that's what the 12 was.
Yeah, and then the Pro is $999 starting, and the Pro Max $1099 starting dollars. That is, so same prices, which is I suppose it's a bonus when there were rumors that they were going to go up.
Well, it's also worth mentioning that the storage tiers are now doubled. So your $699 for a mini gets you a 128 gig instead of a 64.
Yes.
Not only that, but for the price of a MacBook Pro, you can get a 1 terabyte iPhone.
That's true.
Yeah. For those who care, the Pro also has kind of more camera improvements, cinematic mode and this kind of stuff, and also ProMotion, which is the high dynamic. Is it called high dynamics?
No, it's the screen refresh.
120 refresh. Yeah, 120 as high as 120 hertz. Doesn't mean anything to me. I'm totally blind. Apparently, if you can see, it makes it feel faster and more responsive with the way the screen updates. But yeah, that's pretty much the extent to what I caught from that. I think that's a Pro only feature, right? For iPhone 13, the most Pro iPhone ever. That's
the most.
That's literally what they said.
This is going on like, what, 10, 15 years? But every single time they say this is the best we've ever made, I kind of go, well, it should be. I can't
Right. This is not quite as good as 3 years ago, but it's okay.
I mean, yeah, what do you think they're going to do? Come out, this iPhone sucks.
Yeah. It also gets me when they compare it to the leading competition. Like, it's 50% faster than the leading Android tablet. Well, that's because there aren't really any Android tablets there, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm not saying much.
Are they talking about the Snapdragon or what are they?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, they never tell you what they're comparing to, just the leading competition. No,
Yes.
that doesn't help me.
Well, that is the iPhone. I suspect no one's buying one. I can't remember though. I'm on a 12 mini, so I've no need, apart from the battery being very irritating at times.
That was my question though, Dave. Like, would it be worth for you getting an extra 1.5 hours of battery life?
No, I don't.
Okay.
For the money, it would, the cost of upgrade, I don't think it's worth it for a possible 1.5 hours extra. I may though invest in probably not Apple's one, but maybe something like Anchor or somebody like one of the slightly cheaper versions of the or maybe even Scott's $17 Amazon one. Battery case may be good, especially now I'm going out and about more. Suddenly the battery on the 12 mini, which didn't bother me for the first 6 months, is starting to bother me a little bit now. But I wouldn't. What are you on now, Alex?
So I've still got the 11, not the Pro or anything, just the basic 11. Okay. I was mainly jealous of MagSafe, honestly.
It's great.
But it turns out that there's a case manufacturer called Moment, spelled how it sounds, and they make M-Force cases. And what those are basically cases for non-iPhone 12 or 13 devices that include MagSafe. They just kind of copied it. So you can use it with a MagSafe charger. I've done that before. You can get MagSafe mounts, all the usual stuff. And as long as you're using this case, you've got MagSafe. And it's also got little lanyard loops at the bottom. If you want to put a strap or something on your phone for use with a remote camera app, or just so you don't drop it, you can do that as well. It's a touch bulkier than I'd like, but it does give you MagSafe, and it cost me $30 instead of $600 or $700.
Yeah, I love MagSafe. It's probably one of my favorite things about the 12, actually.
Yeah.
Scott, you have a 12 mini, I believe.
I actually technically don't have a 12 mini. It belongs to the research facility that I run. The SE is my personal phone, and I will not be upgrading this year. Well, we'll try again for Touch ID next year. That is a major feature for me. Not because I'm old school. I've done Face ID. But like I've said, time and time again, for my use case, Touch ID makes a heck of a lot more sense.
Yeah, especially because you're a Braille display primarily, so you probably open it without even taking the phone out of your pocket, probably, do you? So, yeah.
Well, and there are parts of like New York City that I go into sometimes that I don't want to have my phone out of my pocket. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And there could be a new SE next year, even in the early part of next year. You never do know. So that might be the one you want.
Yeah, we'll see.
Keep seeing market rumors that the mini form factor might go away after this year because it's the lowest selling phone. Mm-hmm. So everyone keeps saying that, get your 13 mini if you like the mini, because you might not have a 14 mini.
That's true. That is one thing that could that's probably the one thing that could tempt me, because I swear to God, everybody I know who has a mini loves it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are skeptical about getting one for whatever reason. It is fantastic to have that small form factor. I actually really hope it sticks around. That more than the battery thing would actually make me think, maybe I should get a 13 to get that extra year, but I don't think
You know what I might do is if Touch ID doesn't come next year, if I say Touch ID one more time, hopefully somebody will slap me. But if they do not have that next year, I may go with a 13 mini if there is no 14 mini, because I do have the access to the 12 mini, and I like the form factor of it. I really do. In fact, it's smaller than the SE. Mm-hmm. So, it'll be interesting to see what they do. Also, they have been spreading. Somebody has been spreading. I don't remember where the source of it was. It was a rumor that there may be another SE next year in the spring. And if that has that thing that I talked about 9,000 times already, I may just go that route, because it'll inevitably have a nice speed bump. in terms of the processor and maybe even the RAM. So, if at all possible, I'm going to get a device with my favorite feature. And if not, I'll probably do a 13 mini once the price drops next fall.
Definitely worth thinking about. And Tyler, what are you on now? And are you?
I'm on the SC 2020. It's good for me. I like that feature that Scott was talking about. And I've tried Face ID. It's fine. I'm able to use it. I can hold it to my face, but I just find the other form of biometric authentication more convenient for my use case. But yeah, I don't see can't see any real compelling reasons to get an iPhone 13. There's, of course, nonstop chatter in the rumor mill about a 2022 SE that could be coming in the spring, perhaps Touch ID in the iPhone in the flagship model, either 2022 or perhaps 2023. I don't know, but that's kind of where things stand at that. But yeah, I can't see any reason right now for me to switch phones. My phone's adequate for what I do. It's got the A13 sort of 2-year-old chip. And as of now, that seems to suit my needs pretty well.
Yeah, makes sense. So it sounds like, quite a lot of, perfectly good new products released today, but Apple aren't going to be making money out of the four of us in the short term. But that's not to say that they're not great products and that there's not, I'm sure there's a lot of people listening who are due an upgrade or are in the market for an upgrade, and they're pretty good options there. Before we move on an entire day, or before we wrap up, just to mention that iOS 15 is, of course, coming very soon. I believe next Monday, we were told, is when it will be released. So that is on the way. We already have at least one podcast up on the site. Thomas's whistle stop tour of like 50 new items in iOS 15 is up for you to listen to. So do check that out. Guys, you've all been running iOS 15, I think, beta. So I'm going to ask you each for a very quick impression and maybe, a standout or a favorite feature. Scott, you go first.
My favorite feature is actually a mainstream one, and that's focus. There's some like minor, somewhat, I guess, less minor voiceover functions that have come out, and they've done some minor enhancements to Braille stuff. But I really think focus is the big, focus. The amount of customization that you can do is just nothing short of amazing. I love it, being able to put like certain apps when I'm at work so that they don't distract me at all. And then I can get a summary of them, that it'll just say, while you were in do not disturb, blah, 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 and whatever it is. And usually it is blah, 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 because it's stuff I don't want to read during the day. So for me, that's my favorite feature.
Yeah, it's cool. The one thing I'd like them to add to Focus is an option. Instead of saying, I want to only hear from these apps, I want to be able to say, I want to hear from everything but these apps. So say in the evening or weekend, I could just switch off my work apps, but still have everything else. But apart from that, I agree with you, though. I think Focus is great. Tyler, what are your thoughts on 15? Or do you have a favorite feature?
I would say, I do like Focus. I definitely like the ability to better regulate the flow of notifications, so they don't distract me when I'm doing something else or at a time where I don't really care to receive notifications. I do wish you could make it so that you could block certain things, so you could make it so that you could hear from everything except certain apps. I think, like the example you just cited, when you're not on work hours, you'd rather not be notified about things that happen at work. But I think that's a pretty good feature. The other good feature I like is voice over quick settings. I like that because it sort of de-bloats the rotor. You can take some of the stuff out of your rotor, but still have reasonably quick access to voice over settings without it being in your rotor with characters, words, and everything else. It's kind of like a little control center for voiceover, and because there are so many things that you can do with customization of voiceover over the years that have been added, it's nice to see that in a customizable form where you can choose which settings you want on that view, so you can change it quickly rather than diving into settings, accessibility, voiceover, blah blah blah. So I think that's pretty convenient.
Yeah, you stole my one, Tyler.
Yeah, and I guess it wasn't as big of a feature for me because I'm completely a Braille display user. So, like all that stuff, I have it all like keyboard commands for it. So, it's not really a feature I use heavily, but I definitely can see where, for those particularly on touchscreens where, you combine the gesture customization and back tap with this, and it's a great what's the right word? It's a great way and great example of how voiceover has matured over the last 3 years.
Yeah, completely.
Sort of streamline, like a streamline view. Yeah. That's the way I sort of see it. If nothing else, I can clean up my rotor. That's probably my favorite part, is that I can clean up the rotor.
Me too. Now all I have in my rotor is characters, words, headings, links. That's pretty much it. You know what I mean? Very little, and then the things like if I want to change speech rate or turn audio ducking on or off, the sort of things I change only occasionally, they're just in this other menu now that I can still get to quickly, but I don't have them cluttering the rotor.
Yeah.
My only annoyance with it is that we have a Bluetooth keyboard command, we have a gesture, but we don't have a Braille display command. And we also, as far as I could tell, I'll have to look more closely, with the grouped notification, or not the notifications, the group navigation. There are no Braille display commands for that either.
Ooh.
So, and that one is more important than quick settings, I would say, because, like I said, a lot of these things you can just customize with all kinds of keyboard commands, but, group navigation is really difficult if you don't want to use your touchscreen. I think it also works fairly well on the Bluetooth keyboard, but I haven't really tried it. I don't know. Dave, I know you use a Bluetooth keyboard from time to time. Have you tested it at all?
I haven't really, no. But you're right. I mean, anything that works on the Bluetooth keyboard should work on a Braille display, shouldn't it? Really, the concept should be the same.
Yes. So on a Bluetooth keyboard, I would imagine, I don't know this because I don't have a Bluetooth keyboard, but with grouping, like hierarchical navigation, does that work like it does on the Mac, like the same keyboard command? Because on the touch screen, it's the same as when you use the trackpad commander to interact with something on the Mac.
Yeah.
The 2-finger flick. Do we know if it's the same thing on the Bluetooth keyboard for iOS?
I believe, Control Shift.
Shift down arrow.
Down arrow.
Yeah.
They really could have. Well, and okay, I guess it could be caps lock, shift down arrow. That's what I use for my voiceover modifier because, that one less key does make a big difference sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alex, what about yourself? What are your thoughts on 15?
Yeah, so I won't say focuses then. That's been taken. I guess if I had to pick something that hasn't been said yet, I'd probably go for the image description option. With iOS 15, you can now explore the image, almost any image really, in a lot more detail. You can go into a mode where it'll tell you what text it detects in the picture, what objects it detects. You can move your finger around to find out where they are. Like, if you're on the left side of the screen in the middle, you'll feel a couch. You move a little bit to the right. Oh, there's a person on side on profile. So it's really detailed when it gets it right. And it's really neat to hear where things are in relation to each other. And if you don't care about all that, if you're, on a keyboard or a Braille display, you can still flick through everything. You don't have to touch it to get the contextual information. It still describes it pretty well. So that's really neat just to see it happen automatically. It's just all on-device AI doing everything. It's really cool. And as a side note, I will say that I think my favorite feature in watchOS 8 is a tiny thing, very tiny. I'm almost positive it wasn't in 7. On the default playback screen, when you've got your now playing controls, the play button now gives you a percentage. So instead of just play, it'll say, or a pause rather, it'll say pause 52%. That'll tell you that you're 52% through whatever you're listening to, which sounds utterly pointless until you realize that if you're listening to an Audible book and it says pause 99%, you suddenly realize you're almost done with your book or your podcast or whatever it is. And that can tell you, all right, let me hold on here. I'm at a good stopping point, in my walk or whatever I'm doing. Let me just pause and queue up some more audio because I'm going to need it here in a second. So it's more useful than it really sounds like it should be. And I love it.
The weirdest thing, Alex, is I had not noticed that. And
Really?
I do use it. Like I must be so impatient that I don't even wait for it to speak properly or something. I hadn't even noticed. That is kind of interesting.
Well, and I found sometimes that Audible, speaking of Audible, doesn't always sync your positions.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, that's a problem, right? So, having that, okay, you're at 85%, at least I have the chance to remember when I go to another device. Okay, yeah, I was at 85% because, like I said, I've had it several times happen where I'll be reading a book on Audible on one device, I'll switch to another, and then when I go back to the original, it didn't record the progress I had made on the other device. So that's actually really handy.
10 minutes later, wait a minute, I think I've heard this before.
Done that, yep.
I guess a follow-up to that, to what I said before, it is another one of those things that you think, whatever, that's a minor feature. Siri with use offline, I really like because it speeds up, like majorly speeds up, and you'll hear it in Thomas's podcast, doing things like, open Safari or open whatever it is. Also, you can toggle accessibility features and set timers and do all these things, and you don't need an internet connection. So that's really helpful in some situations too. But even when you're online, it still does some things much faster, and you don't have to do anything. It's just there and it's ready when you install iOS 15.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely sped things up. Cool. I think that pretty much does it, guys. If you are interested in any of the products Apple released today, I believe the iPads are available to order straight away and shipping next week. The iPhone, I think, is pre-order this Friday and the 17th, that is, and shipping the following Friday, the 24th. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's
the
right.
watch, I did not catch. I don't know if anyone else did.
I don't
Later
think they
this
said
fall.
it. Yeah,
They
just
didn't
later.
say, they just said later this fall.
Okay, there were rumors in the lead up to this about production difficulties and so on, so that's not a great surprise. So that's those. As I said, they'll be with iOS 15 coming out over the next week. There's going to be loads and lots of content and podcasts, and Scott's got a post coming out on the site, and Alex has a post about today's event if you want to read more about it. So loads to check out on applevis.com and on the podcast stream. So last is just to say thank you all for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thanks for hosting.
Thanks for hosting.
And thanks everyone for listening. Enjoy. Bye-bye.
This AppleVis podcast has been brought to you by the community of AppleVis.com. For the latest in resources and tips and tricks to get you the best experience from your Apple device, visit www.applevis.com.